Welcome to the September 10th Select Board meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. First order of business is approve the minutes of July 9th meeting. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion is carried. Minutes of the July 23rd meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Motion is carried. August 13th meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? No opposed. Motion is carried. August 28th meeting.
Motion to approve.
You want to second it?
Seconded.
Any discussion?
You guys are on a roll.
Yeah.
All those in favor? Motion is carried. Next item is support for the Thomas Pond Improvement Association Dam Repair Project.
Hi, I'm Frank Jaffe, 33 Pulpit Rock Road. I appreciate the time today. We're asking the town of Raymond to support a repair project on the Thomas Pond Dam. Next slide, please. Essentially, the dam is in need of about somewhere between $25,000 and $35,000 worth of repairs. We'll know when we get a final estimate. It hasn't been repaired or worked on for quite a while, and we went out to our membership to raise funds and raised about $14,000 so far, specifically for dam repairs. So we weren't able to raise all of the money that we need. So we're coming to Raymond and to Casco because the dam is on both sides of the town lines, and the pond obviously is in both towns, and asking for $7,500 from each town so that we'll have the money to get the dam repaired this fall. Next slide, please. TPIA was formed specifically to take ownership and control of the dam. The dam itself and its current form was built around 1935. In 1985, the dam was determined by DEP to be abandoned. It took them about 5 years from the time they determined it was abandoned until they actually were successful in taking ownership of the dam and transferring that ownership to TPIA. And as part of that process, we ended up with ownership only of the concrete structure of the dam. So we can't really build a new one, because we got what we got, and that's the only thing we have. In 1992, both Casco and Raymond contributed money for a project to repair the dam. Part of the reason why it was taken by the state was because it was in a bad state of repair. And each of those towns gave about $7,500. Next slide, please. In order for the dam to be repaired. At that time, the total cost of the repair from the contractor was about $19,000. So the towns basically picked up almost the entire tab. We're not asking the towns to do that this time. Next slide, please. After all is said and done, the dam is right now about 90 years old. We've been told that the life expectancy for dams like this should be about 100 years. We need this dam to last a lot longer than that, so we need to take care of it. Last substantial repairs were about 33 years ago, and unsurprisingly, the dam is showing its age and wear and tear. Next slide, please. So what we have here are a couple of example photographs. This is not an attempt to document every possible flaw in the dam. I don't think you guys are that interested in the specifics, but we have several weeping cracks where water is entering the dam, getting behind the concrete, and then coming out further downstream. And that creates a void potential behind the surface of the concrete that can be very difficult to repair, and we discovered on a work party this Saturday that we in fact have a large void on one side of the dam that is going to cost more to repair than we originally thought. Next slide, please. We also have a substantial erosion of one corner of the dam where it's basically about falling off. And as you can see, plenty of rough surfaces where the surface has eroded away. If it's just cosmetic, we don't really care, but we want to make sure that the dam gets repaired so that it lasts a lot more than the 10 years that its life expectancy says. Next slide, please. So basically, just to recap, we're asking the town for $7,500 for repairs, either now if you happen to have some loose change in your couch, or more likely as an item on next year's warrants. And that would let us, along with additional fundraising that we'll do, have the money to do the repairs no later than next fall, which, the sooner we can get it done, the better. Next slide, please. We think this is a no-brainer for the town to support. It's a capital repair item that's beyond our ability to fundraise on our own. There doesn't seem to be any easy money that we can get anywhere else to pay for this, because we're not a high-risk dam. So what we're looking at is getting a professional repair done so that it's done right and done soundly. That'll last us another 30 years. Both towns, Raymond and Casco, rank the quality of water and the lakes as an important part of the reason that people live here. And the water quality directly affects the tax values. We have 192 properties that we believe are in Raymond that have access rights to the pond, and they contribute about $615,000 in taxes last year. So that's what I came to ask for.
So what's the total, I'm sorry, I missed that in the beginning part of it. What's the total that's looking to fix this about?
So we got an estimate for $19,000 for just surface repairs, but in a work party this past weekend, we discovered that there's
More.
damage behind the concrete that's going to also have to be repaired. So we think a realistic budget is in the $30,000 to $35,000 range, and we've already raised 14. Any other questions?
Questions?
This was just to do repairs?
Sorry?
Just to do repairs, it won't be, you've had 2 gates on it, is that correct? 2 openings for the flow?
So we have 2 weeping cracks that are visible and easy to see, one on each side. We don't know how much damage is behind those. There are a number of other cracks as well, but those would probably just be sealed with some kind of caulking.
Is your question, is it just the cement work?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for, is what the extent of the repair is. Are we talking about replacing, there's some sort of gate that regulates the pond, correct?
No, we're not talking about replacing the stop log system at all, just
Okay.
repairs to the concrete.
And will you do it with low water? Will you have to drop it down? Is there a timetable that you're seeing it as?
So we will probably have to interrupt the flow of water over the dam, and we can potentially use a pump and pump water around the dam for that period of time if DEP requires us to maintain a flow. But realistically, we're thinking July, August, September of next year is the kind of ideal window, because the flow is already minimal then, and DEP will let us just block the flow entirely for a couple of days. But we have to get permission from DEP, so.
And your estimate is that this will last 30 years or thereabout?
We're hoping it will last longer. We see what has caused the erosion now and where the erosion is, so we want to make sure, we're doing an RFP to solicit bids, just like anybody would. And in the RFP, we'll look for specific proposed solutions that we believe will provide long-term repair and remediation, such as putting some metal sheeting on spots where the water is hitting the most, easy to replace, keeps it from getting into the dam and penetrating.
So you're targeting the work for actually in mid-year 2025?
Yes. We don't have the money to do it now, and realistically, we don't think we will have the money to do it then if the towns don't step up. But if the towns do step up, then we would get money approved in the town warrants in the June timeframe.
Mr. Chair, correct me if I'm wrong, but if it's for next year's warrants, wouldn't this be, I mean, I appreciate you coming in a year early. That makes it a little bit easier for us, but wouldn't we deal with it during the Budget and Finance Select Board meetings? Or can we actually vote on something like this far in advance?
No, I think what we would do is we would
Vote to keep it.
essentially, I think what he's looking for is are we on board with doing this and then funding it in that next budget?
Yeah.
So, because, even if we were to come up with the money now, it's not gonna, it's not gonna move that along to get done until
Well,
next year.
if Casco came up with the money, it might, but realistically, I don't see how that happens. It's not like you guys have a lot of, $7,500
Yeah, I
loose
mean,
change.
I mean, the worst, because we're just into the new budget cycle.
Right.
And so, but I guess, the real question would be, conceptually, are we on board with this is something that should be
Yes.
done? Then we get in, the financing of it, or the funding of it, then we would pick that up in the subsequent budget cycle.
But,
The
talk-
residents, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
The residents in that area, you said that we listed them. Does that mean that they're in danger of damage to their properties?
No. So the dam maintains a water level that's well below the flood level. It's considered a low-risk dam. If the whole dam failed completely and Thomas Pond drained downstream, it's really doubtful that it would even cause any flooding down there because the properties are all about 8 feet above the
Yeah.
level of the creek. It would definitely cause erosion problems if that happened, but it's not an imminent danger of any failure, and we want to make sure that it stays that way for the next 30 or more years.
And
Because
it's a non-generating dam, so you can't, there's no,
Yeah.
no power generation.
so there's no grants or whatever that you could look at from the energy sector to help pick that
We've
up.
looked around. MEMA has allegedly a grant program, but they restrict it to what they classify as high-risk dams that have approved plans, management and emergency response plans. We're considered a low-risk dam because there's really no risk to downstream properties.
If he's looking to do it, they're looking to do it June, July, August. Our budget season doesn't start until July 1st. I mean, so I can see putting it in, but if they need it in June, then we're gonna,
Well, if they had, it depends on how they contract with the contractors, but I mean, you hit. Sorry. Meeting's over. No. So I mean, if, I guess it depends on, I mean, essentially, you're gonna see where the recommendations are anyway going into there, and then the final votes wouldn't be until the town meeting, which would be June. The actual fiscal year wouldn't start till July, so the money wouldn't be available till.
Yeah, but I don't see that as a problem. We have, if a contractor requires 50% down payment, we've already got pretty close to that, and we're going to continue to try to raise funds from our membership. And so the fact that cash might not be available until July 1st shouldn't be a problem. And it's just a little less disruptive to do it when water flow is naturally lower. But being very concerned about the environment being less disruptive seems like a good thing.
Yeah.
And plus it makes it easier.
I'm all for it.
Is it mine?
Keep our waterways and everything else. Don't let them get worse, yeah.
Actually, I like the idea of government working with a local community in a partnership when it comes to something like this financially.
I mean, we did it when the repairs were done back years ago, so. I mean,
Yes. And in fact, we're asking for the same amount of money you gave then. No inflation.
Wow, that's the only thing.
It's the only thing,
Yeah.
right? 33 years.
Yeah, that's crazy. Do
You
we,
say this is non-recurring, though.
Well,
But I mean, the only thing,
it's not an annual recurring expense.
Right.
We have
But-
plenty of those too in maintaining the dam and the amount of effort that takes, but that's all done on a largely a volunteer basis.
what I would say is, you've got the time now to get, reasonable quotes and things like that. So when you'll end up doing, kind of a similar presentation when we go through the, when we set the budget and whatnot. But, at that point, then you'll have a hard, fast number too, so that we, because, what you don't want to do is say, okay, it's going to be, 7,500, and then I'll find out it should have been 8,500. Because trying to change after the fact is a little bit harder than if we know where, if you've got hard figures there, where you're on the fundraising. So,
Yeah.
That way we can work with a strong number.
So if you guys are supportive, and it seems that you are, and we thank you very much for that, then it seems to me like the logical next step would be for there to be a point person that we can work with to draft whatever language is needed, and then to get the final numbers to when we have them.
On that, work with the town manager.
Because we can get it in.
Sounds good to me.
Yep.
Yeah, and the budget, we'd need the numbers January, February timeframe,
Okay?
to have something a little more fleshed out now that you've found other pockets.
Yeah. And the one thing we all know about these kinds of repairs, right, is that when you discover a problem, it's never smaller than you think.
No. Before, any comments from anyone else in regards to this? Peter?
Peter Levitt, 2 Levitt Road, just to be supportive of this whole collaborative effort. I think recently, this summer, the Presumpscot was affected by a dam failure. I think it had more to do with a gate, but it literally drained a recreation area in the town, put the whole summer out of reach. So just to
Indeed.
consider that.
Yeah.
So work with Sue on that, and we'll see you at budget time.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, appointment of new treasurer. Sue?
Well, if Brenda wouldn't mind going to the podium, I didn't tell her she'd have to do this. It is my very great pleasure to introduce Brenda Fox Howard to you. This is our new finance director. She comes from a variety of positions being finance director in different states as well as in Maine. She's already jumped right in, both feet, and been through a lot of the stuff with us, and we've worked through a number of things, and I think she's going to be wonderful to work with. So,
Hello.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here. I'm happy to be your new director, and I've jumped right into the June reconciliation process. We also managed to get a hold of the accounting firm that's going to be conducting your audit, and they're actually being kind enough to move it out so that I'm here when they come. So I had a pre-scheduled vacation prior to my arrival. My husband and I are celebrating 30 years, so we're going to the Grand Canyon.
Congratulations.
So it was a little impromptu for starting a new position, but I already had everything all planned out. But it worked out with the auditors. So.
Good, good. See, they're kind people. They're not
Yes.
always mean. No, it's great. Welcome to Raymond.
Thank you very much.
Questions from the board?
I'm just curious of your background. I wasn't on the interview committee, and I know that the chairman was, but just a little bit of your background.
Certainly. I've worked in various locations doing finance work. Pfizer, I was a clinical trial budget analyst. I also worked for Millstone Nuclear Power Station. I worked for Dow Chemical as a chemical operator / technician and rail fleet manager, which is also an analytical position. I migrated back into government. I've worked for the town of Ledyard in Connecticut. I was a finance director for the town of Winchester in Connecticut. I was the director of finance for the town of Putnam in Connecticut. I was the director of finance for the town of Peterborough in New Hampshire. I was a town manager here in New Gloucester. I worked at the shipyard in Bath as a project manager. I just have like a kind of a plethora of different types of experiences, both from the private and public sector, which kind of helps. It helps with every area of finance to understand where, what brings the funds together, what brings the projects together, what it costs, costing when you're undertaking big projects.
Wow.
Coming home to Maine?
Yes, we were going to retire to South Carolina. We moved down, bought a house. Wasn't happy with it, the location. I was actually working for the state as a finance and procurement manager for one of the colleges. But we decided Maine is home, so here we are. We lived here in Kennebunk probably about 4 years ago. We had a home in Kennebunk, but we sold it to move out and about. So now we're looking again. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Wow, big history. Good for you.
Well, I
Have
was-
that wide.
I was trying to condense it all, and
No, it's your background is great. Yeah, with all the different stuff that you've had your hands in.
I've worked in some very difficult situations as well. Working in the town of Winchester, I actually was hired after they had terminated their finance director for theft of $2.2 million, embezzlement. He was incarcerated, and so when I came in there, I was on the throes of rebuilding the finance department. That was probably one of the most difficult positions I ever held. But it was also very enlightening. I learned a lot, and a lot of different techniques I learned from different auditors when you go through those things. So it's kind of helped me better myself in my position in my career.
Wow, that's great though. I mean, you could build that back up and have that kind of not fall back on by no means, but I mean, as far as having those little skills, that help.
Yeah, because I mean,
others.
then when you see something,
Yeah.
it makes you. I'm kind of like I go down the rabbit hole, so to speak. So if I see something that I don't think looks correct, sometimes it is, and it was just a thing. But it has taught me a lot too. When you get that feeling like you need to look further, do it. It's just the right thing to do. But it's very nice to be here in Raymond. I'm looking forward to a career here.
We're happy to have you too.
Thank you.
So, motion?
Motion?
I make a motion to appoint Brenda Fox Howard as our new treasurer.
I second that.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion is carried. Welcome aboard. Thank you. Next item is consideration of any fund balance transfers or use of undesignated balance to close out fiscal year 23-24.
Oh, and that's Brenda.
That's me?
Yes.
Back up.
Do we have the form to sign?
Who's got my notebook?
Do we have the
Your
form?
notebook?
Yeah, it has the form. The red. You didn't bring the red notebook?
Oh. Mel, do you have the red folder? Teresa's missing her folder.
Thank you.
I guess we know there's a
red button.
a couple areas that went over budget, but we also had areas that were under budget. So in whole, closing out the year, are we still within the confines of what the budget was?
Yes, you are. You are supposed to maintain, and just forgive me if I'm bouncing around a bit, You're supposed to maintain the 2556701 as your minimum for coverage, and you are at 3655739. So you're well over what the minimum is. That's your fund balance.
The fund balance, but my question, we had a budget that was X dollars.
Right.
We have to, that has to be squared around at the end of the year to close the books. And we didn't exceed what the total budget projection was?
No. You ended with $1,024,039.
Okay, so
And
essentially.
last year you were at like $500,000, so.
So, I mean, essentially, you're going to have to do some journal entries to square around, because there were some overages both on Public Works and on Public Safety.
Yes.
And no, not Public Works, I think admin,
Right?
yeah.
Oh, okay. So,
Yeah.
so,
I think
okay.
now-
And Public Safety and admin.
Public Works wasn't over.
Because they had the issue with the pump, and there was a couple other things that came up there that caused that. And actually, they went over on the salary side, too, if I remember correctly.
I caught some of the history. In my couple of weeks, I'm trying to take it all in. One other thing, while we were discussing this, something occurred to me regarding your recreation department that you have as an enterprise fund currently. At some point, maybe in the future, maybe we could talk about a different reorganization of the enterprise fund to include expenses and revenues to get a more rounded picture of how that department works. I have some ideas, so maybe in the future, not tonight, but just planting a seed.
And,
She's jumping right in.
And worked with Joe Carker on that, because.
I did chat with him, and he was kind of positive about it.
Yeah, 'cause,
Not yet.
I mean, because, because I know that when we talked to you, you'd worked with some enterprise zones and things like that, so, we just have to make sure that we stay within the confines of what the state.
I was thinking more of along the lines of trying to make it less dependent on any general government expenses, more independent,
Yep.
therefore funding itself year over year. So that's kind of the way I was
Yep.
headed,
Kind of like an enterprise account.
like a true enterprise account.
Excellent.
So at the end of the day, we don't need to, because we have some funds that were underspent, some that were overspent, so we don't have to dip into undesignated to close the books. So
No, you do not.
And so you're just going to do some journal entries to square those right.
I will, and I'm sure I'll do additional when the auditors come.
Yeah.
There's several things that probably need to be completed.
So you can close out 23, 24 without any issue then.
That's correct.
All right. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So we don't need a motion on that one because we're still within.
That was just
So the next item would be consideration of setting the milled rate and tax commitment. Bert?
I'm good, I think. I'll call on you if you need the exact numbers. Kerr LaBelle, Assessor's Agent. So this year, there were some pretty substantial challenges, as you well know, on the budget side for school, municipal, and county. Currently, the town is looking at a minimum of a $1.3 million tax increase with a maximum of about a $2 million tax increase, depending on how much fund balance the Select Board elects to use to reduce taxes. And in your memo, you'll see that I've outlined 3 choices for tax rate with different amounts of fund balance that could be used. The voters at town meeting have approved the select board to use up to $700,000 in fund balance this year. As Brenda has just indicated, our current estimates are that the board has about $1 million in excess of its 15% policy amount available in fund balance. You're capped at 700 as far as what the town meeting has approved for usage. When you look at the sheet, you'll see that essentially for every $100,000 difference in fund balance usage, it's going to move the tax rate about 10 cents. So I've given you 3 choices, but we can go in between those. And essentially, any questions that you may have, I'm happy to answer them, and I'll open it up to the board for discussion.
I think one thing that's important for people to know too is if you look at the budget that went through, the county tax figure was incorrect. The number that went into that was on the estimate that came from the state. When their final number came through, that correct number never got entered into the budget. So there's about a $70,000 difference between what was in the budget presentations to what is actual. Going forward, what we should do is not make it a votable warrant article for the county tax. Reference it, make sure people understand what that figure is. But by the fact of saying that, do you approve or disapprove, it gives people the idea that if they say no, we're not going to pay the county tax, which cannot be done. So
Yes.
what that would do is it's still going to be, they're still going to know what it is, but it's not going to be voted, do you approve spending, that or not?
Right.
But
Yeah.
because that, we just don't want to give people the false idea that they can say no and you don't
Right.
pay it.
Yeah,
Well-
that's exactly correct. The county and the SAD taxes are what I would call a pass-through. It goes directly from those entities which do their own vote mechanisms to the Board of Assessors directly. So the Board of Assessors are bound by the warrant regardless of what the town meeting article said. It's best, like you said, just to leave it, not put an amount in there. It's a pass-through item anyway.
Yeah.
So Kurt, are your numbers accurate then? Is it, or is that missing that 70,000?
No,
That's in there.
I have the
Okay.
accurate numbers. I have the warrant for this fiscal year from the county, and then I've added the $80,000, which is payment number 2 of
Correct.
that 6-month transitional. So
Okay.
we've got the correct numbers in there.
The number that was in the warrant was $937,187. And it actually ended up, what was it, 974?
Well, the total between the two is $1,040,000.
Yeah, yeah, the total was different,
Yeah,
but that's what
total is
the,
$1,044,820. Because that picks up, that includes the
Right.
80,000.
Okay. All right. So,
So, in my opinion, I don't think we want to go the whole 700.
all right, can I put my 2 cents in?
Sure.
Only because I literally just had a conversation with somebody, and people are getting hit hard right now. I know the power bills have all gone up, CMP, everything's going up, groceries are going up, and I know just my taxes over in Poland right now just went up $800. Wyndham, I believe, just went up $900. So people are getting hit hard. Am I saying use the whole 700 or whatever? No, but I think that we should be using at least half, 350 to 400, because people need to get some kind of help with everything that's going on, and I'm just afraid that it's really going to be hurting a lot of people if our taxes go way up too.
Dennis?
If I can. From what I can tell with your chart, thank you. You made it simple. I really like simple when it comes to numbers. If we had not increased anything in the town of Raymond, it would still go up just under $1. It'd be that 1680, because that 700,000 is pretty much just over what we voted through for our increase. So
Yeah.
realistically,
Yeah,
it's almost $1 just for the school and county.
Right, yeah, you would have to use all 700 to wipe out, to make the municipal
subsidize the other
tax
two.
net zero. Yeah, you've got 1.4 million school and county.
Right. So in my opinion, I'm not opposed to going above the 200 either, but I think that basically the more we go up, the more we subsidize the school and the county by lowering the tax rate, because they're already at $1. So personally, if we go from 200 to 300, that's still 50% more than we've done over the last few years. Personally, I'd like to see 200, but at the same time, it doesn't hurt to use a little of this money to offset it.
Sam? Your thoughts on how much to use?
Well, I'm with Dennis on that. I would prefer 200. But if 300 is what works.
Derek?
Derek?
He's got you coming from both sides. Behind you, in front of you.
I think we're all going to speak.
Derek.
I'm leaning towards 300. We don't. I mean, I don't know. It's not a huge difference either way. It's. I mean, it depends, I guess. If you have a $70 million house on Sedago versus what us normal people have, but. Yeah, I'm leaning towards. I would say 300 would be my vote.
Well, I wish for 200, but 300 is probably realistic.
I mean, my original thinking was 300. I mean, I would have gone to the 350 of me, but the difference between 300 and 350 would make them, on a $300,000 house, would amount to about $25. If my mind is calculating roughly correctly.
But who has a 300?
Well, they used to say $100,000 house, but that's, I don't think those exist much anymore.
So either do $300,000 houses.
If there's not a motion, can I make a comment?
You can make a comment.
Peter Levitt, 2 Levitt Road. I think, splitting the difference and coming down the middle seems to make the most sense. If I understand the whole idea of this fund balance thing, part of it is strategic in that I believe your Moody's rating and bonds are all tied to what you have in reserve. By the same token, what we're seeing in the environment is the fact that there's going to be more events on the way, and therefore having more of a cushion in the dollars also is part of the charge of this whole issue. So I'd say it's kind of like insurance, and what you'd probably do is split the difference at this point, a little bit more on the taxpayer, but at the same time having money in reserve for that rainy day slush fund, whatever you want to call it. It's money that when you need the money, you need the money. And but quite honestly, I've been hearing in this community probably for the last 15 years, maybe longer, that Moody's and the bond rate is we're AA, AAA, whatever the tops are with there. And I don't think that that's a bad thing overall. I do think that we should be saying at this point to Moody's that we've kind of established a track record here. We're not a losing business. And so, maybe we don't have to prove as hard as some other communities to get that bonding. But that's a whole nother thing on bonding. Thank you.
Well, that's it's important that we maintain that, that 15% cushion, because that does tie directly to how the rating agencies look at it. When we went and bonded the last time, if you look at what we did, because we self-bonded, because we had the AAA rating, We got the bonds at about 1.9 or 1.9%, where the bond bank was giving almost 5%. So I mean, by being fiscally responsible there, it saved us a ton of money. And we know that we've got some projects coming down the road that we're going to want to self-bond on. So we need to maintain those levels so that we can get, or keep that rating and get get preferential rates when we go out on those. Because we know there's going to be some projects coming down the road. Just look a little bit to my right here. There's going to be money that's going to have to go into that and things like that. And so the better we prepare ourselves for things like that, as far as staying ahead of the curve on that, the better off for us all.
Well, I make a motion that we allow $300,000 from the surplus to be moved over for this use.
Second.
Yeah, so essentially what that, and Kurt will have to run that through to see what, how that factors down. But essentially what we're saying is.
That'll be 1720.
It would be use 300 for the fund balance.
I think you can safely add.
Second grade math there.
300,000 and setting a mill rate of 1720. That's what's going to come calculate out to.
Okay.
If you want to amend your motion.
Accept
Well,
that change?
Well, then I'll change it to, do I actually say the tax rate, 1720?
Oh, the motion is to use 300,000 in
Out of
fund
the
balance
SelectBoard
and set
fund
the tax rate at 1720.
To set the tax rate at 1720, as amended.
That's what I heard you say, right?
I was thinking it.
And that was seconded by Teresa.
Yep.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? And so you'll get those you need wet signature on, so when will you have those out there?
So we'll finish this tomorrow morning, and then we'll send an email out when the papers are ready, and folks can circulate through and sign the warrants tomorrow afternoon.
So Dennis, you'll have to, on those, you have to go up to the town hall and sign that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tomorrow
That's,
afternoon?
Yeah, it'll take me most of the morning to get the stuff into the billing system and get the warrants prepared. There'll be some fractional rounding, so I can't really predict the exact dollar amount. It'll be within, the overlay will be within a few cents or $1, but by tomorrow afternoon, I'll let Sue know.
Yeah.
She can send an email out letting you know everything's ready to go.
Or tax?
Or text.
Hey, you're still up there. Next item is consideration of signing the original assessed value certificate for the change in the TIF proposed changes. So this, if I understand, this just, this is that whole change that we're doing to allow the, additional things in the TIF. So that this just resets or recertifies the original rates on those, correct?
That's correct. A couple months ago, the town approved an amendment to the pipeline TIF corridor, and Bernstein Shore submitted the documents to DECD. And what's common is, depending on who's staffing that department at any given time, they often ask for some technical revisions. And what they've asked for is, we have the original OAV certificate from 1999. They like to see currently an itemized list of all the properties shown. So the total amount, the OAV, does not change. We're simply showing the individual assessments from 1997 on the certificate, because DECD likes to see that now. So it's basically a re-ratification of the earlier OAV. No change to the dollar.
Questions on that? Is there a motion?
A motion to accept the assessor's certificate for the town of Raymond, Maine.
Second?
Discussion? All those in favor? Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Next item, consideration of financing new dump truck and excavator.
Bless you.
How's it going tonight?
So, we're up to purchasing a new dump truck and an excavator. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have, the only way I can do this is to finance it. The dump truck is coming in at around 300,000. The excavator, we haven't got a solid number on that yet, but it's scarily approaching 300,000. I'd estimated 200 on the dump truck and 150 on the excavator. The only way I can do it to stabilize my CIP budget is to finance.
How much
I'm
for the
looking to
excavator?
do 4 years on the financing on the dump truck and probably the same on the excavator.
So excavator's 3.2?
The two we're looking at are 280 and one's 310.
Okay.
And where are we looking at financing that?
I haven't got that far yet.
Has Brenda looked at that at all?
I wanted to see if that's what you were interested in doing. If we don't finance, I can't purchase either one of them this year. We'll have to wait till spring.
Do we need them?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, something like that, it makes sense to on those dollar values anyway, but, what I'd want to see is what we can find for where we can go, because that's approaching the figure where we, whether we want to self-bond that or whether we go, we can talk to some of the banks and see what they do on there too. Because if we go to the bond bank, then we're tied to their lending times, which are twice a year. They've already done the first lending, so it wouldn't be until,
Is it February,
yeah,
I think?
it's when
If we're going to wait that long, there's a window I've got to hit to order the dump truck to try to get it on the road for next winter. We order it, we wait too long, we're going to be another whole
Well,
fiscal year.
I mean, the question would be, what you'd need to do, they'd need a contract and some sort of a binder or whatever, but our actual financing of it depends on when delivery is going to be, when we need that.
Correct.
So this is for next year's?
Well,
Next winter?
There's one truck that's in the pipeline that we could essentially see by December. If I order right now, we won't see the cab and chassis until April, May, somewhere in there. And then it'll have to go up to get upfitted, and that'll be
Is this
late
for
September.
a plow truck? I mean, a dump truck.
Regular
but-
dump truck,
yeah.
yeah.
And the excavator, what size is that?
We're looking at something similar to the same size we have. We got a 308, it's a 19,000-pound machine. I don't want to get anything too much bigger than that if we can.
I'm confused, though. We just went through a budget process, and I didn't hear one mention of either one of these things, and now it's an emergency?
No, it's not an emergency.
Oh, so we can, well, this is just to ask for it to be in the budget process?
No, we had it in the budget process when we were doing the budget process.
You did?
Yeah, it was
It's
in the,
in
it
his
was in,
CIP
it was in
budget.
the CIP, it was in the spreadsheet that we presented to you guys a couple.
I was on the budget committee until June.
Yep.
We asked for it 3 times. We didn't get anything besides a inventory of what you had. And now,
We gave the spreadsheet,
I'll go back through I'll go back through the meetings. I mean, somehow,
Yes.
it's been on the schedule. The excavator's actually been talked about for 3 years now. We, probably even 4, we were going to do it back during COVID, but supply and demand was too much and couldn't get one, so we just patched that one back together.
and you had bids so that we had something to read? Not numbers. I know there was numbers that were handed to
Yeah.
us that were just hundreds of thousands of dollars. But you had 225 in a CIP plan,
Correct.
and we asked for your plan at
Well-
least 3 times.
You got it. When did we do that, Sue?
Could I get a copy of it?
Yes, of course you can get a copy of it.
Okay.
Budget Finance
Yeah,
just had it.
But and Nathan isn't asking, can I spend the money? It's already in his CIP budget. It is, he wants to see if the selectmen are amiable to going out and financing it rather than buying them outright because the costs are coming in bigger.
Correct me if I'm wrong, the money's there, but the discussion about both a dump truck and an excavator, because one was bought in January, correct? Was a new truck bought in January?
Yeah, we purchased it actually in October of last year. We just got it.
That was the only one I heard about the whole time. And I thought I paid
It was
pretty
in
good
the- It was in
attention.
my presentation to replace another dump truck this coming year and replace the excavator. Like I said, the excavator we've been talking about for, back into COVID, the first part of COVID.
Well, again, I'm a little confused because, again, I took notes. I asked for the plan. We met several times to go over it. We got numbers. We never got names. You may have verbalized it, but unless
We
I'm
don't
living.
take the bids to the Budget
Yeah, we
Finance
haven't-
Committee or anything like that.
We haven't done
So
that.
you haven't got any bids?
No, I got quotes, Dennis. I don't put it out to bid. I got quotes. I got one from International, one from Peterbilt, one from Western Star, and one from HP Fairfield, which is a complete unit.
Could you could you send those to me in an email?
Of course I could. I've already
Okay.
told you I would.
I appreciate that.
I can
And
get the
I'm
numbers
going to
right
look for, I'd also like to know when it was brought up in a meeting, because quite frankly, this is what we wanted. We wanted a plan to see what we're going to replace, because there's many needs that are an ambulance that's underfunded. And I see in your capital improvement that there's Snap-on tools being bought, a $15,000 truck being bought.
Well, the truck that we purchased was in the plan too, Dennis. It was in the CIP schedule. We've never had to put the stuff out to bid. The last truck I put out to bid and went through the process was 2003. We
Again,
found it to be very cumbersome, and the money is there. You spend the money, and there was a trust with the Board of Selectmen. They said, purchase what you need to purchase, and that's what we do. And I price check them. I don't put them out to bid. The bidding process is kind of a farce. So you get quotes on your trucks and go from there.
bids are important.
No, they're not. Not on a dump truck. When you're buying a dump truck that every other town's buying, they're the same. They're all the same. When you get into the plow trucks, all you're doing is hoping that you don't miss something on the truck, and they're going to be a couple $100 difference. So you're down to buying what you think you need.
I'm not comfortable moving on this tonight. I think we can table until the next meeting. I'd like to see what's in writing, what bids he has, and we can discuss
I
going
don't have any
forward.
bids, Dennis. I got quotes, and I can give them to you right
No,
now. if you want.
what's being, what we're saying here is, are we amenable to financing those? Those were, these are items that have been discussed in the past and were in the plans. So now we're at the phase where we say, okay, do we want to finance it, or do we want to just take it straight out of the budget?
I say we finance it.
Finance it. Need a motion.
Do you want a motion on it?
Yeah, I'll entertain a motion to investigate the financing on.
All right, motion to consider investigating the financing on a new dump truck and an excavator. Go ahead, a second, sorry.
Second.
Discussion?
So on the discussion part of it, because it might be on a deadline type thing, when do we want the final,
The
yes?
only-
Oh,
The only deadline you're going to have
Oh.
if we choose not to purchase the one that's in the pipeline, it'll be spring before we see the truck. If I don't order it here pretty soon, we'll be another fiscal year. The order banks are opening up, I think he said, in a couple of weeks. And if you don't get into the order bank, you won't see it you won't be able to order it until the fourth quarter, which will put the truck getting here December or January of next year, which will put you into the whole cycle. At that point, you don't really need to finance it. You can wait till next year.
I do have a question along that line. Because it was brought up and discussed, what was the price you had back when you discussed it?
Well, we were looking at 190,000.
For which, the truck?
On the truck.
On the
yeah.
truck?
190,000 for the complete units with the number I was working off of.
things are jumping quick.
Yeah, and they've gone up since '21. That same truck is 269,000 for the exact same thing we got right now.
On that motion, I'm not putting any conditions on it. I say approve it. It's just my motion.
Other discussion? Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Would you reread it
Wait.
so I can understand what we're voting on?
Are we finding, on the financing part, we're just sending it out to get finance, to find out what the financing terms are?
We're investigating
Right.
the financing.
Okay.
Ultimately, we would then have to approve the
So then we're gonna
Then
get,
we
we're gonna get a number
get it
back,
again,
and then,
yes.
Yeah, if we get stupid rates, I wouldn't recommend financing it.
Okay.
I don't know what the rates are. I just was coming here before I went any further.
If I could please.
You have to go to the mic, otherwise they can't hear you on Zoom and it won't
On
be on the
TV.
tape. Yes.
So it just so happens, I have a meeting with a gentleman from Androscoggin Bank on Thursday to look into something else. And I'd be happy to discuss this with him as well, just to see what I can get from that avenue. I'm also planning a meeting with maybe another bank as well to discuss financial terms for a few things. So I'd be happy to, if you'd like, to pull this into my conversation.
Well, I mean, that's what this
Yeah.
does. It says,
Yeah.
you know,
We should overview.
investigate the financing options
Yeah.
on there, so we
Okay.
can then
Are
make,
we- Do we have a deadline on this? On your motion?
well, I would say that, you know, the financing options would be able to be presented.
Not necessarily a deadline, but do we have an estimate, like guideline, I guess, on when we're trying to get it done by?
When will it come back to us for a final vote?
I guess that's going to depend on how quickly
Right.
Brenda can get things done there. but-
So are we gonna put a deadline on it, or are we just gonna let her fly?
I wouldn't.
Oh,
put
we'll
it
ask
down.
her to report her progress at the next meeting.
Well, our meeting's not for a month, so that should be fine. Okay, cool.
That-
That's all I was wondering. If you could
Is
get
that
it done in
gonna
that time frame.
kick things out too far? A
It
month?
is what it is. I mean, try it. I think you won't, if we go out 2 weeks, we won't be purchasing that truck for December, which is fine. We'll be back to the original plan, is ordering it now and getting in place for next year.
Before, we
I
always
mean,
just,
your other, you know,
we always went with, when,
your other option is separate the two.
Well, they're both going to be separated, if I'm not mistaken, if you can't finance two pieces of equipment with one loan, you'd have two loans, one for the excavator and one for the truck.
All right.
Depending on how you do that. If we were to self-bond, you can do that as long as the documents are correct.
Correct.
If you're doing a loan on it, yeah, they're gonna do that individually, but it depends on the packaging. You know, if you went to the bond bank, it's a capital equipment purchase of two pieces of equipment, and that you could put into a single bond. So it depends, that's why I say it comes down to what you find out when you look at the options.
I was I was trying to steer away from the bond, just because of the length of the loan. I was kind of hoping to get this over and done within 3 to 4 years. We've got $200,000 in the CIP account right now on just the truck. I was gonna put 100 down on it. I was thinking to do that, and you're only financing 199. And I used the figures on the most expensive one. So that was the only reason I was kind of looking towards a loan instead of a bond. Just
Well, I mean, you know, call it a bond, call it a loan, you know, whichever, but I mean, it still comes
Still
down
financed.
to the financing options.
so can I ask something? I mean, I don't, and this is just me being, I don't know, maybe losing my memory. I don't remember ever having to do this. Usually what
No.
we did is,
Typically, we would have asked for the money to town meeting, and where we weren't financing it, we'd purchased the truck and moved on.
well, right, because that's what the ex-town manager would do too,
Correct.
because you would talk to him and he
Yep.
would pull the select board and stuff like that. Can we give Sue on a good deal as far as like what they come back with? Can she approve it?
$600,000?
Again, the ex-town manager used to do this all the time.
He's not here.
I
You
know
guys
that.
didn't want him here.
What was that?
You didn't want him here.
No, you take the statement back. That's not accurate.
Well, the reality is that
No,
if we
no.
did that, I think it was inappropriate, put it that way.
Well, okay, but in this case, that's all I'm asking Rolf is what, is that a possibility?
Well, I think you're talking two different, you know, if something were to happen and the truck became that's a manageable, the excavator is a bigger thing, and I think that's got to be looked at separately.
Okay.
You know, so I mean, it depends, you know, if all of a sudden one was found, you found one that was available that you could get the next day or whatever, then we would, you'd look at that a little bit different, because in that case, it's probably a better deal, but.
Well, I think.
But I mean, if the reality is, it's one that's gonna have to be built anyway,
Right.
then, let's look at where all our options are.
I think the truck that's already in the pipeline's almost $40,000 more money. And we don't need the truck right now. We're all set for this winter.
Yeah.
The original, what I started with this was to get the truck in the pipeline, get it rolling, get everything going. And that's an option too. We could do. We could purchase the truck. I've got the money to purchase the truck, and then July 1st we purchase the equipment. That's what we did with the Western Star that we have right now, the one we just purchased. We ordered the truck, purchased it. It showed up. We paid for the truck out of last year, and we just a couple weeks ago paid the bill and the equipment on it.
Peter?
Nathan, I'll tell you, I've had some amount of experience with keeping old engines and equipment running, so I appreciate that you put on the spot whenever you asked, well, are we talking about this season? Are we talking about 2 years? So worst case scenario, how would the snow removal, let's say, this winter with a moderate snow be impacted if you were down a dump?
Well, you always go into it hoping that the equipment you have is in good enough shape to run it through the winter. And that was our plan. We don't have, we've got one spare truck. And so if you had a broke down truck right now, it would impact it a little bit, but nothing, I don't think the people would see it. We have breakdowns all winter long.
But if that was the case, then you'd run a season of moderate snow with no backup.
Correct.
Good point.
Well,
Motion.
the original motion was to investigate the
You can still do that.
the
yeah.
financing options. You can still do that, but I mean, if something changes, that can come
Okay.
back to us at any time anyway. So the motion on the table is to investigate the financing options for the
Right.
truck and for the excavator. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed?
I'm abstaining.
One abstention. Motion is carried. Next item.
So get back to, get on the agenda.
Consideration of issuing quitclaim deed for lien payments.
All right, I make a motion to approve a main short form quitclaim deed without covenant for Carl Bartolomeo. And it's, I'm trying to think if there's an amount. No, it's book 31729, page 018, book 32517, page 61. I'm not seeing an amount.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? None? Motion is carried.
Okay, the second one is a motion to approve a main short form quitclaim deed without covenant for Veronica Danie, D-A-N-I-E. Sorry if I said that wrong. Do I have to read all the books and pages?
Yep.
All right. Book 33358, page 278. Book 35,913, page 71. Book 39,673, page 117, book 34,140, page 345, book 37,080, page 21, book 40,312, page 221, book 35,064, page 336, book 38,553, page 8.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? None? Motion is carried. Public comment. Any public comment? No public comment. Selectmen comment.
I do, I'm sorry. I had let, as you guys are aware, Bob Jones passed away, and they are having his funeral this way, the 12th, yes, at 1, I believe, and it's at the Refuge Church in Wyndham, back tucked in there, if anybody is interested in going.
That's Bob Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bob was, he served on many different committees in the town, including the budget finance, including some subcommittees and things like that, so.
I mentioned it to the budget finance, but yeah, he was a good guy. He was a good soul. He really was. So I just wanted to put that out there.
He was a gentleman in the true sense of the word.
Yeah, he was.
Other comments? Okay. Town manager's report.
I actually have a few things to report. One is I'd like to thank very much Victor Otley. He's the president of the Panther Pond Lake Association. He took myself and Chris and Jason and Janet out on a tour of Panther Pond. And he showed us the equipment that he uses for testing the water, testing the clarity, explained all the processes, showed us the various points of, not just points of interest, but from a town point of view and a potential, not potential hazard, I don't want to say that, because that lake is so clean, it is amazing, quite literally. But they've worked hard to get it that way. They have really, and not that others haven't, I just haven't seen Thomas Pond. But it was really interesting to see, and I had been to their annual meeting, to hear the care in the people's voices and how much they really love the area, love the people around the lake, love keeping it as pristine as they can with the water quality. And he explained the whole flipping of the lake and what the phosphorus does, and it was incredibly interesting. I was very thankful, and it was very informative as well, because Chris used to live on the pond, so he helped too to talk about some of the various things that were around it. And we had quite a discussion as well about a popular subject of late, which is the short-term rentals, because they really have, the same as all the lakes do, I think. There's a set of folks that have bought properties in order to have a business and rent short-term rentals. There's another population who have owned property on the lakes for years and rent them out for a part of the year to be able to make their tax dollars. So somewhere in between there is, I think, where we need to be aiming at for any ordinances or anything that we're looking at, because I don't want to hurt one group by helping another on either side, regardless of which side of the coin you're on with that. So I think it's going to be quite an interesting activity to go through looking at those kind of ordinance changes when we get there. But I really appreciated going out. That was very eye-opening. And Joe.
Planning board subcommittee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're very good.
Mm-hmm.
They're an excellent group.
They are. Yeah.
They work on the river too, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, they had about 100 go to their annual meeting. It was quite well attended. That was nice. Joe Crocker couldn't be here tonight, but I asked him for a update of Parks and Rec, and he did create a document, and I'll send it out to the board. But they had quite a year this year. I can't even talk, I'm sorry. He says this season has been comparable to 22 in terms of activity and revenue generation. Our projected seasonal revenue ranges between 120 and 160, depending on weather conditions such as temperature and rainfall. And with three consecutive seasons free from COVID restrictions, we're now better positioned to predict our future revenue streams. In, let's see, for gate attendance, for instance, at Tasseltop, In '21, they had 14,788 for gate attendance. This year, 18,005. So in 3 years, they've gone up significantly. The summer camps have just exploded.
Yeah.
Very literally. They have waiting lists on everything that they do.
Yep.
They're now exploring having before and after school care with the school. He's in talks with Chris Howell
Nope.
and the school.
They did it.
They did it?
They
That's
did
done?
it.
Oh, I
So-
haven't heard that.
Yep, and they just opened up applications. They can only do 25 kids, and they have to do it at RES because Jordan Small, their Wednesday early release, will goof these guys up over here. So what they're going to do is use, I think, the gym, the stage, and probably out back too. But nope, they've already. Riley, I believe it is, their, yes, the assistant, they put out a survey and they said parents were coming back left and right. It's $90 a week, and they're only doing it after school
Oh, it is
right
just
now.
after.
Yep, but it's, I think it's 3:30 to 5:30, I think it is. But nope, it's open, so it's a huge new thing for Raymond, yes.
Wednesdays, it's noon to.
Yeah, Wednesday's noon to 5, I think, 5:30, yeah,
Shapes of things to come.
yes.
Yeah. Yep.
So good for
How are
them.
they doing the Wednesday then?
Over there, they get out
No.
early Wednesday.
It would be on this side. They're taking those kids that are early, but these kids aren't out early, so what do? They just,
Well, it all depends on if they get in. Because what happens is they had to apply online for applications. I think it opened up
yeah, but either way,
September
you'll
5th.
probably get a mixture of each,
Yeah.
so.
Well, once, if, when they.
So on Wednesday, the gym and I don't know what you call it.
The stage.
Area, they would have to close that part down from
No,
on noon.
it's all going to be at RES. It's not up here.
Yeah, no, there's across the street. They can't use. Yes.
I thought you said
Oh,
the other way
sorry.
around. Okay, I
No,
gotcha.
no,
Makes way more
because
sense.
I didn't understand what you were saying. No, because it would move them up
Gotcha.
here with having
Yeah.
kids in the.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, wait, that doesn't work.
No.
Yeah, and their programs are doing incredible. In the lowest year, or the earliest year he has is the first year he was here, 2019. There were 107 kids. This year, 173 for the summer
Wow.
programs.
And the ski
I believe.
program's back.
The
And
ski program's back. They've got soccer going.
Starting tomorrow, the bingo for the seniors.
Oh, yes.
wait a minute, but it's I read it was all ages.
It was, no, that's Sue Towers' thing. I thought that was just the seniors.
Okay, so there is the seniors, but
I
there's
saw all
also,
ages too.
It's all ages. But
Yeah.
Oh, was it?
It might be, yeah, it might be Deb Tar for that, but
Yeah, I don't. Better be. I'm ready.
all ages,
Bingo.
Raymond Rec bingo.
Killing it.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah, I'll knit you a shawl.
September 11th,
Yeah.
which is Thursday, I think. Tomorrow, yeah.
Pom poms only. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get all the
6 to
different
7:30
colors.
at the Raymond Village Church. No, I mean this.
Hey,
Don't start with the pom poms things again. Yeah. That's funny on those.
Yeah. But what's to me cool about all of this stuff, beyond the numbers and all of that, is it's bringing people together and doing more community type things. And I think that's what our society's missing more than anything else.
You know, I could just say, everything you mentioned up there is a non-real estate, tax-driven revenues. Boy, those are nice words.
They are.
So other than that, I have confirming dates, October 8th and November 12th for your next 2 meetings.
I might not be able to do the 8th. Yeah, I'm on vacation that week, and I'm either going to Pennsylvania or having family come up, but that's right. I mean,
Is that a problem?
I don't know if I'm going down to Pennsylvania or having family come up. I mean, I
which one? The next one or the one after?
October 8th. So, I mean, even if can we go possibly the next week? I don't know.
The 15th?
Yeah.
I believe that's, oh no, that would be Wednesday, never mind.
Something else here that night?
I don't believe so, but let me
I don't mind
make
either way.
sure before I. assume.
October 15th or 8th. Doesn't matter.
Anybody else have a problem with the 15th?
Nope.
Looking at my calendar now. I don't think so.
September, October. No, the 16th is budget finance, but there's nothing on the 15th.
Okay. So we'll have it the 15th instead.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Mhm.
Okay.
Could I just add a comment real quick? This is about the collaboration, Laurie Wallace, 36 Pulpit Rock Road. This is about the collaboration between the town and the citizens. Just wanted to add to the Parks and Rec update that the Raymond Lions Club donated money for 4 benches
Oh, nice.
for Sherry Gagnon Park. We want to do as much as we can for the community with our backs and our funds, so Thank you.
What was that?
4 benches for the park.
No, from who?
Raymond Lions Club.
Okay,
That was
thank
really
you.
nice, thank you.
That is very nice.
And Nathan is putting them together or put them
Yes.
together?
It's coming up, I think.
And you're the president. I'm the president and secretary.
You are,
So Nathan, how are you going to tether
Spokesperson.
those down so they don't flip over in that next Wednesday?
Not going anywhere.
Oh, too soon. Too soon. Huh? November is, we're doing,
Nathan, that's when you pick the chair up and show them how the wind blows it.
All right.
12th.
That's great.
Nothing else?
Yep.
A motion to adjourn?
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Meeting is adjourned.